Okay, I have a silicone breather hose and radiator kit that I picked up off of eBay for a W210, I believe an E420. However, for the CLK55, I believe we'll be able to use the breather hoses. I don't think the radiator hoses will work. This was a recommendation from Anderson on YouTube, if you're familiar with his channel. Lots of good information, especially for the M113. He has a C55, but it's the same exact engine and platform in the CLK as it is the C55. So we're going to take some time and put these hoses on. The kit came with clamps. I don't know if we'll need those. We may not need to use these. From what I saw, the fittings, the ends fit pretty well. So these old hoses just become brittle, and obviously silicone is a little more pliable, so this should work out well. I have a hose. I have 3 hoses on this side, and then this hose here that goes into, I believe, the either back of the manifold, or actually this one may get, it looks like this one gets crossed over and comes into the back of the manifold or the top of the throttle body. So I'm going to pull this apart, replace the hoses with the silicone ones, see how they fit, and double check and make sure that we cannot use the radiator hoses, but just trying to get everything cleaned up in the engine compartment and get this thing ready for summer. So I'll check back. I'm going to get started pulling these off, and we're going to put these on. So I'm going to get to it. Okay, so I was able to get the right side off and plumbed back in. One thing that I am noticing is that the silicone hoses are a little bit larger than the stock factory breather hoses, so they're not going to go in the same location as good as the old ones, but that's all right. They still fit. They are the same exact identical length, so no problems there. One thing that I did notice is I took the throttle body off, and I am going to take this screen out. Now, there is a screen in the actual airbox as just like a backup precaution, and then you also have the 2 air filters. And I'm thinking that this is probably restricting a little more airflow than what we could probably do a little bit better. This almost looks like there's a double screen in there. So I'm going to take this apart, see if I can clean everything out real well, including the sensor. And that just looks like it's 2 fins designed to move the air a little more efficient, but I think this screen is just a backup safety, and I'm going to take it out. I have a feeling that it's going to breathe a lot better without that screen in there. So that's the update so far. Not too bad. The old breather hoses are a little bit of a pain to get off just because there's not a whole lot of room to work back in there, and just over time they've become so hard that they're not very pliable. What I did was I took a razor blade and cut the ends just because I know I'm not going to be using them anymore. There's 2 ends here. This you can probably pull off. However, I got a hard line coming in right here, and this isn't going to come up. So what I did was I just sliced the ends off of the old breather hoses and slid the new ones on, and that seems to work out fine. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward. All your hoses line up. Like I said, the lengths are almost identical. They are identical. It's just that the silicone hoses are a little bit larger than the old ones that are coming off, but it's not that big of a deal. So I'm going to take this screen apart and see if I can get it out of the throttle body, and I'll keep you updated from there. Okay, I had the throttle body out. I took out the plastic mesh screen. I left the metal one in there. I may take the metal one out as well because the airbox has another metal screen after the air filters. So anything that gets through that's large enough to get through the air filters is going to get caught by this screen. The throttle body I don't think needs 2 additional screens on it. So I think taking them out is going to let this thing breathe a whole lot better. The silicone hoses are on for the most part, other than the large throttle body breather hose that goes here and then runs down to the bottom of the throttle body. I'm gonna take some carb cleaner and clean this out. I noticed there's a lot of grease buildup at the bottom part of the throttle body, so I want to get all that cleaned up the best I can. And then I'm probably going to take this metal screen out as well. I don't know, I haven't decided yet, but like I said, the silicone hoses are just slightly larger in diameter than the stock breather hoses, but for the most part they go on pretty smooth. I don't need to use these hose clamps that they give you. The hoses themselves fit pretty snug on there, so I'm not too concerned with them popping off. I'm going to get the engine warm and see if they start to loosen up a little bit, but I have a feeling that they'll be all right. They're on there pretty snug. So other than that, I'm going to call it for right now, and I have to go pick up another can of carb cleaner. I'm going to clean that throttle body out real well and then put everything back together. But not too bad of an install, and just a little bit of a preventative maintenance for these hoses. So I will give an update once I get everything back together. So I was able to take apart the throttle body. I did remove both of those screens. I decided to take the metal mesh one out as well, just because I'm putting 2 brand new air filters in there, and it also has that secondary screen in the air box. All the breather hoses are on. It's actually the next morning, and I also picked up 2 drop-in K&N air filters. These are just beat. They've been in there for, it looks like, a long time, so ordered these online. They just came in yesterday, and we're gonna pop these in, put them in the air box. I cleaned the air box out. This thing was filthy, so that's all been cleaned out, and we're gonna drop these in and see how the car runs and drives with a little bit better airflow. So let's get these in, and I'll update after the install. I got everything back together on the car. Air filters are in, the throttle body is done. That was a nice little mod, just to take those screens out and let it breathe a little bit better. The throttle response feels a lot better, so I think that taking those screens out and putting some K&N air filters, something that helps it breathe a little bit better, was definitely an improvement. Still dealing with an exhaust leak on this thing. That's probably going to be the next thing that I get taken care of. Probably going to run 2.5 inch from the headers back. The headers that I have right now are from Moscow Supercharge. I picked them up about almost a year ago now. They've just been sitting. So that's probably the next mod. Like I said, I would eventually like to get a Rentec airbox for the car, but it's just a matter of waiting to see if one pops up for sale. And then, like I said, the Moscow Supercharge headers are 2.5. I'm going to run 2.5 back, maybe to a resonator. I'm not sure yet, but I would like to run it back to the stock AMG muffler. I like the factory look, and I have a feeling that I'm going to like the way that it sounds with a full 2.5 inch exhaust setup back to that stock AMG muffler. So that's the game plan for right now. I also have, these are the headers. And then I also picked up two 2.5 inch electric cutouts that I'm thinking about putting in somewhere in the exhaust system, probably towards the back of the car. Thinking somewhere in front of the rear wheels, just between the back of the front doors and the rear wheels. They're going to be tucked up under there, so I'm not doing any kind of, side exit exhaust or anything like that. I kind of want it to look as factory and as stock as I can, but something where I can press a button, open the valves up, and just let the car breathe a little bit better. So that's the game plan for right now. I took it out. I gave it a good, I got on it pretty good, and the throttle response is much better. So I'm definitely happy with taking those screens out of the throttle body, giving everything a good cleaning, popping some new air filters in there, and yeah, it's running and driving very well. So hopefully we can get this exhaust setup done, and that'll be one more thing checked off the to-do list.